Eze, Gyökeres, maybe the signing we shouted about the least as Arsenal fans is the one that has changed everything. Cesc Fabregas, Santi Cazorla, the manager Mikel Arteta. There's been several midfielders that have played for Arsenal Football Club in midfield. And now we've got another one with Zubimendi, who I'm ecstatic about. Believe he started his Arsenal career in the best possible way. And let's actually delve into his season and his life at Arsenal so far. Before we continue, people, I actually want you lot to see something. I want you lot to watch what's about to come on screen, get the creative juices flowing, jot a comment and let me know your findings. But let's continue.
Bueno, y ahora llegaba ya a comenzar el segundo tiempo, con un cambio obligado, que fue la lesión de Rodrigo y la sustitución por Martin Zubimendi. Jugadores de un corte muy similar, con diferentes características, obviamente, diferente personalidad, pero que nos permitiría seguir jugando de la misma manera, sobre todo con una idea ya total y absolutamente interiorizada en todos los jugadores. Martín tuvo un comportamiento sensacional, no era fácil entrar en ese momento del partido y nos siguió dando la estabilidad que necesitábamos. Martín es un jugador, tanto Martín como Rodrigo, nosotros pedimos a ese jugador, ese mediocentro, ese número 6 que nosotros llamamos en esas posiciones, nos permite liberar la opción de, en este caso era Fabián, de 8, para que en la fase ofensiva tanto Álvaro Morata ganara altura, Dani Olmo mantuviera su posición para jugar entre líneas a la espalda de los centrocampistas ingleses y que Fabián también ganara altura para intentar recibir a esas alturas por delante de Mainoo para luego combinar en esos pases para combinar con Dani Olmo o buscar situaciones individuales que le permitiera desbordar, superar esa línea de depresión y buscar con finalizaciones, con tiros o buscar también la amplitud por fuera con los extremos. Insisto, eso es lo que nos permite Martin Zubimendi por sus características. Además de que es un jugador que, como demostró durante ese segundo tiempo, da pausa al juego, tiene un gran desplazamiento de balón para jugar tanto en corto, filtrar pases interiores o jugar con cambios de orientación tanto a un extremo como por una banda como por otra, un extremo o a otro. Pero vuelvo a decir, el trabajo de Martín nos permitió liberar, de igual manera que lo había hecho, que lo hace el trabajo de Rodrigo, pero en el primer tiempo los equipos estaban todavía con tanta frescura que fue muy difícil poder realizar ese tipo de situaciones de juego, de crear esas situaciones de juego, y sí nos permitió en el segundo tiempo esas situaciones de conducción de Martín, provocar la salida de alguno de los mediocentros, una vez superado tanto Foden como Kane, para buscar posiciones de pase, con tercer hombre dejar de cara de nuevo hacia Fabián o buscar posiciones, insisto, pases en amplitud.
I hope you really paid attention to that clip from the Spanish gaffer in which he spoke about Zubimendi's appearance off the bench against England. It's a tough act to follow any midfielder when you're stepping in for Rodri, much less in a game like that. And word to Mikel Arteta, when I start to think about Zubimendi's potential role, how good he is and how good he can be for Arsenal Football Club, I do start to get goosebumps. What did you guys take away from that clip? Please let me know. Don't forget to smash the like button. Now, I put that clip in because I think people have to really change the way that they look at the sixth position at Arsenal Football Club, and especially with foreign managers. You know, normally it's an imposing individual, which I don't think Zubimendi gets the credit for. You know, he's got a smile on his face, but he puts himself around in the air. He puts himself around in terms of tackles. He's always available for a pass. I genuinely believe he's the glue and the controller in the middle of the park for Arsenal, and an all-action, multi-purpose midfielder that contributes in all phases of play. Now, this was an interesting graphic because I think it shows Zubimendi's progression on the ball. It's showing his post-recovery sequences, so passes and carries, and his impact so far in the 2025-26 season. So far, he has the highest post-recovery passing accuracy in the Premier League with 95.5%, which just shows after regaining possession, he plays clean, forward-thinking passes, which is why he's got 8.3% of progressive passes. It shows his composure even under pressure because he rarely loses the ball. And the thing I like, going back to what I said about the glue, he acts as the link between Arsenal's defense and attacking rhythm. He combines press resistance with decision-making clarity, which has hallmarks of being a good midfielder with the potential to be elite. And where you look at him and Declan Rice, which we'll get onto, shows that they could become an elite pivot together in the middle of the park. Zubimendi's calming nature, in my opinion, is infectious. He's what you call a silent controller. doesn't overcomplicate, doesn't shout, just dictates. Arsenal structure breathes through him. Post recovery transitions and ball progression, apologies, ice cold. Zubimendi's numbers don't lie, man. The man's running Arsenal's midfield like clockwork. 95.5 pulse recovery passing accuracy, 8.3 apologies progressive passes, calm under pressure, and a huge reason as to why we look even more composed in transitions and progressive play. People look at every game we've played great attacking possession based football this season. Would you not agree with the ones on screen? The first half against Man United wasn't anything to shout about, but in the first half he played a lot of passes forward. Leeds United, he did well. The second half against Manchester City, he did well. Newcastle, where we all did well, including where he was denied a world-class assist if Timber could have finished his dinner. Not to mention coming off the bench for the injured Martin Odegaard and providing a masterclass against West Ham. Now you get to see Zubimendi, people. Another thing we have to address, over the years, or in the last 2 to 3 years at the very least, and to be honest, up until the Newcastle, West Ham and Olympiacos games, at times, unfortunately, when it comes to breaking down oppositions, our passing could become or had become too slow, pedestrian based, and it allowed the opposition to remain compact for far too long. It's one thing having the players, and this is going a bit off topic, but bounce passes, bounce/rule passes, they're simple. Again, if you don't understand that jargon, it simply involves 2 to 3 players, with the second being the focus for the opposition. Player A will pass to player B, who is directly in front of him, and attracting pressure from the opponent. The player immediately bounces the ball back to the player. For example, A player or player C, if there is another option, and then they can exploit the space left behind with the opposition defenders who rush forward. Obviously, it starts to open up spaces. You now get to see how Zubimendi gets to do his thing and how this benefits Arsenal, and simply put, shows how great he is, people. Once again, I think people need to look at the 6 role very differently, and we'll get on to that, people. You need to look at the 6 role very differently. That is a first kind of attacker, if it would make sense, people. Football's a simple game. It's only complicated by idiots and wannabe tacticals who want to use smart jargon. You have to go from one end to the opponents and score goals. Typically, loosely, this is typically how you might see us line up. Obviously, in play, this is a still image that is subject to change, as we're going to see throughout the course of this video, people. Make sure you're smashing the like button. I'm trying a little thing with you lot, people, trying to take this content a bit more seriously. Now, the blue arrows you will see on screen is typically once the ball is in play, the Zubis, the Gabriels, the Salibas, the Timbers, the Calafiores all present passing lanes from David Raya. Obviously, I've now changed the colors as we get into players in red, which are the midfielders/Timber, and obviously the green would be our attackers, give or take. I know I haven't got Yokerez's, but let me show you what I mean. Not to scale, but naturally teams sit in low, mid and deep blocks against us. This is why I'm not against recycling possession. Again, the aim is to draw them out. Typically, once we progress play from our defensive third into the opponent's half, typically this is what you see, which on paper looks a bit muddied, but we're going to make sense of this. Naturally, Yokerez is, occupied by the centre halves. Calafiori obviously would invert, but sometimes will go down the flank. So to be fair with you, Calafiori could be here, there and everywhere. So he might not be the best example. But naturally, as we progress play, Trossard's likely to come slightly inside. On occasion, Calafiori is going to hold the width. That obviously leaves at the moment, our central midfielders in Eze and Declan Rice. Now, you could see Trossard occupy the width, will be narrow. The same goes for Calafiori. The whole design indirectly is to create pods. You see it on the left, you see it on the right, with Trossard, Calafiori and Declan Rice on the right. The left, and typically on the right-hand side. This is because players can make runs, people can move off the ball. It just takes one moment from the opposition to switch off, and likewise with us. But let's reset everybody for a start, people, because as I said, this is typically what you see. Let's just say, for argument's sake, Trossard has decided to be narrow. Calafiori's gone out wide. He's kind of in that half space. Gabriel or Saliba have given it to Zubimendi or Eze. It's quite interesting because Timber actually has a unique role. But naturally, Saka will start out here. You'd see Saka kind of be doubled up against. That brings Eze into play, in which you would have seen earlier, Zubimendi actually found Eze. Of course, he's obviously got the option of Yokerez. And that's where, Declan Rice typically and Timber and everybody off the ball can make runs. Declan Rice has the energy and the legs to get in behind. I don't know if Zubimendi, assuming he made that run, will find him. In fact, he would. Can find Yokerez, can find Eze, can find Timber and find Saka. Now, naturally, as I said, that is what you want to see. You want to see them two. You want to see Eze be a bit narrow. You want to see that. You want to see overloads. And you have the confidence that Zubimendi can find these players, in which you've seen him do it for Timber in what led to a penalty, and also against Newcastle. And you saw it from Eze, well, for Eze in the build-up to actually Declan Rice's goal against West Ham. He's the glue. He'll always receive it off the centre-halves and be able to find several of his teammates, depending on the run they make, and recycle possession. And also another thing with Zubimendi, typically he will go to the right. You'll see Saka out there. 1 second, we'll get Timber back in. Eze can be that much more narrower. If possession is with, I don't know, Gabriel Magalhaes or Saliba, of course, you'll see Zubimendi out here. You want everyone to be a bit more narrow. And as you can see, sometimes Timber will make that inwards or outwards run. But it's one thing making the run. It's another thing having a player with the ability to find you. And that's what Zubimendi gives us. More than anything, Zubimendi's ability and his acquisition at Arsenal presents a positive ripple effect. It allows Odegaard and Declan Rice to stay further high up the field. It allows our fullbacks to bomb on forward. It shows that we've got another progressor from defense into attack, or a link, if you could say. Simply put, more players higher up in the opposition's half, more chance creation, and potentially more chance conversion, people. It could also mean our defense is protected, fullbacks overlapping, more as stated, and obviously Declan Rice and the other midfielders ultimately benefiting. And why I like Zubimendi and Rice is because we finally have a long-term partnership. Let's be honest, Thomas Partey was a quality player for us. Him and Rice didn't necessarily convince as a whole together, owing to Partey's inconsistencies throughout the years with his fitness. Jorginho, who I think is very underrated partner with Declan Rice, had his own issues. The Havertz left-sided centre-mid experiment, nobody wants to see that. And although Zubimendi to date seems to play quite a lot with Merino, it's fair to say mixed success, and we don't want to necessarily see that, people. And I think with Declan Rice, people, and Zubimendi, we've got two players who can do 8s and 6 business. Personally, I think there's too much done of that conversation. There are times where the 6 is going to be further up the field. Think Paris Saint-Germain's midfield, or the 8 is going to be the deepest. Declan Rice is showing other facets to his game. Zubimendi is actually starting to score goals. They are midfielders that can contribute in all phases. You sprinkle in an Eze and an Odegaard and our inverted fullbacks and strikers dropping deep, and people like Bukayo Saka, and it's scary, not for Arsenal Football Club. It's scary for the rest of the league, people, which is crazy, if I'm honest with you, man. On paper, you do want Rice the deepest and you want Zubimendi the furthest forward. But as I said, people, we have to contribute in all phases of play. So I think people need to kind of change their thinking around such. The man's always available on a half turn, always available to give it to Rice and Odegaard and the players further forward. We finally have someone who doesn't panic under pressure. There isn't an element of hot potato football with him. He's always available, which you should as a midfielder, but it's very underrated. His line breaking passes open up the wings faster. You now see Saka and actually another number of our wide players actually benefiting a lot more. And it's a big fix where the transitional balance, people. Rice again can push higher. Arsenal do not get caught higher up the field as much as possible. And for Declan Rice, let's be honest, he's had to hold people's hands in the middle of the park. With Zubimendi, that isn't necessarily the case, man. You see the difference when you've got a real 6, not a destroyer, not just a destroyer, but a controller. Zubimendi doesn't need to shout. He's a man that conducts games quietly like a jazz band. It's as simple as that. And if you still don't believe how we're looking at it, just look at how Rodri speaks about him and his emergence in the Spanish team. Or better yet, look how Pep Guardiola speaks about the importance of Rodri, not just in terms of ability, in terms of what he gives that team. There's a reason every top team at one point wanted to sign Zubimendi. In my opinion, he's worth the wait. And the scary thing is he's only just getting started. Sure, I was amazed about Eze and Gyökeres, but I felt the most happiest about Zubimendi because it's the controller this club has needed, and I believe it's the light that will make all the other players shine brighter. Sometimes it's not the flashiest player. It's the one that gives others freedom that can make the difference, people. His statistics suggest there's more to come, and we're going to need it from everybody. And where you look at Zubimendi, Odegaard, Eze, Rice, Zubimendi, Ethan Nwaneri, the possibilities in the middle of the park are ridiculous, people. Absolutely ridiculous. You know, and again, on the topic of there's more to come, in La Liga, in the 2024-25 season, he ranked in the top 5 of central midfielders for successful passes, successful long passes, progressive passes, touch, tackles, interceptions, aerial duels won, and distance completed upfield passes. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You know, it just shows that he's someone that has the technical ability, the tactical ability, knows how to occupy space on the pitch almost perfectly, and he reads his team's needs very well when it comes to helping his teammates. His reading of the game is fantastic. He's very intelligent. It's almost like a younger, more physically robust Jorginho. He's a thinker's man's footballer. And it'll be interesting to see long term the differences with him and Partey, because the statistics actually present mixed success.